Hello, this is Mike Van Meter. Welcome to the Recovery is Possible podcast. I want to thank you for joining me. You can reach us at our Facebook site, which is also called Recovery is Possible, or our website, which is vanmeterwellnesssolutions.com. This podcast exists to educate the public about addiction, remove the stigma associated with addiction, and offer help and support to those suffering from addiction. So for those of you that have been listening to my podcast, you know that I'm all about integrated recovery and using all of the best practices that are out there. Integrated recovery, the scientifically proven methods that help people, anything that helps people get to that place of recovery and restore their lives and get well. And I'm always on the search, always on the lookout for people that are doing the same thing and looking to take the best practices to help you get well. And so in that journey, I've come across folks from All Points North Lodge, and we have today as a guest the CEO, Noah Nordheimer, who's going to be talking to us about their programs and what it is that they do to help you get well. So Noah has an interesting story, and he's going to be telling us about that, the work that they do, and how you can reach them and possibly work with them to get well yourself. So with that, thank you, Noah, for joining us on the program today.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Well, great. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself and what it is that you do.
So I'm originally from Washington, D.C. I'm been in the behavioral health and substance abuse field for about 10 years now. It seems like just yesterday, but we really enjoy what we do. We're passionate about the work and being able to help people. My career path, was a little bit different. I used to be an affordable housing developer up until about a decade ago, and after I exited that business, how I got into behavioral health and substance abuse field was I looked at an investment opportunity, and I was really disappointed with the group and their ability to look at outcomes and further, develop programs that worked. So clearly didn't end up partnering with them and thought that we could do something better. That was where I pivoted into the field and haven't really looked back. I've built, now I'm on my second company in the space. All Points North Lodge, which is a substance abuse and mental health facility based in just outside of Vail, Colorado, in a town called Edwards. It's a 30-acre campus, and it has all levels of care. We certainly understand that clients don't just get well from 28 or 56 days on campus at a residential level, and we've built a telehealth application that continues to treat them long-term, so they can work with their therapist or work within groups, no matter where they came from. So we're definitely advancing the ball with technology and chasing outcomes.
So what kind of technology are you using that you think would set you apart from some of the other treatment centers?
So on campus, we have a deep TMS machine, transcranial magnetic stimulation. So it's been FDA approved for major depressive disorder. It's certainly, we've seen indications for anxiety. It just got FDA approved for smoking cessation. So that technology, almost, I don't know if you've ever seen one of the machines, but it almost looks like one of the 70s style hair dryers that goes over your head. You sit in a chair, and sessions are about 20 minutes. Generally, the sessions, depending on the indicated use, could be anywhere from 20 to 40 sessions. Generally, they want to see you come back kind of consecutive days. And those sessions, what it does is it uses magnets to bring blood flow back to areas of the brain that have lost blood flow. So through research, they've shown that this is a great alternative to medication. And for someone like me with my history, which I'm happy to share, this is really the antithesis of big pharma. Transcranial magnetic stimulation, because it's proven research to achieve the same outcome or a better outcome where medications really have failed. So for me, that that's something I'm really interested in and continuing to do research there with deep TMS. Another technology that we have there is hyperbaric oxygen therapy, HBOT. We partnered with the folks at Next Gen Hyperbaric, and they've really been phenomenal in working with us as we want to advance, the science and research around HBOT and behavioral health. We're certainly seeing indicated uses with a lot of clients who come in with traumatic brain injury. We serve a lot of retired professional athletes. And what we know from data is, concussions are directly linked to depression. Depression is directly linked to substance abuse. So, if you kind of follow the breadcrumbs with professional athletes, concussions really are a turning point or a starting point for many of them in what leads to depression and then, secondarily substance abuse.
And suicide is pretty high. Suicide rate is pretty high as well.
Absolutely. And I think that we see the trauma within them. Some of it happened and began earlier in life, and then a lot of it happened from their careers. And I think we're really looking to serve them and figuring out with these technologies and with other traditional methods how we can best serve them and get them back on track. I think for a lot of the athletes, their careers start at 4 or 5 years old. And for anyone that's transitioned careers, 30 or 40 years old, imagine their careers are over in their late 20s, but their career started when they were 5. So there's a lot of things that happen to them as they're growing up within a sport. And it almost becomes their identity. And I think that's one of the things that we're helping them to see is there's a lot more out there. And, while they were achieving great success as an athlete, it doesn't necessarily define who they are. And that's a big turning point.
Well, you know what? I am so glad to hear you say that because you're talking about professional athletes, but my listeners to this program know my background, military, police, and then FBI. I just retired 2019 from the FBI. And that's a very common thing in my field as well, because a law enforcement officer, a military officer, it's not really a job. It's who you are. It's what you are. It's your identity. And I experienced that myself. Once I retired, it's like your entire being is gone. And a lot of people think that way. And if you're still in the throes of addiction, or if you've begun your addiction, that's a real dangerous combination, isn't it? I mean, that's something that we really need to have programs to help these people that have really never thought of themselves in any other way or any other light, and sort of get them on a track to where, that was your job. It was not who you were. There's a whole life ahead of you. And it sounds like you're doing a lot of work in that field.
Absolutely. We work with a lot of frontline healthcare responders now. We're, getting more into the military population and building specialized programs for them. And certainly, I think with any of these groups, those are the challenges that you face, but also, the biggest challenge that we see is stigma. And unfortunately, there's a larger category just below active addictions, right? They say active addictions in the United States is somewhere between 20 million, I think, and 24 million. There's a much larger category that Tom McClellan, who was the ONDCP under Obama before Botticelli, he speaks about this phenomenally. Misuse is a category that's 40 million plus, and people from that misuse category move up and down into active addictions. But unfortunately, the way our society is built, the stigma that's associated with substance abuse or behavioral health issues is we don't catch people until the end, until it's really full active blown addiction. Whereas I think the opportunity to catch people within their misuse category is a great opportunity. And that's something that we're really trying to get ourselves more into.
Yeah, yeah. And where are you located? Where are you located around the country?
I'm based in our office. We All Points North Lodge is based in Edwards, Colorado. I work out of our satellite office here in Malibu, California right now. I go back and forth. So it just depends on the day if you find me in California or in Colorado. But our marketing team, our contact center, our telehealth team are based here, and all of our clinical staff and medical staff are based on campus there in Colorado. So we're kind of back and forth.
You have a pretty extensive staff there as well. Can you kind of go through what, if somebody was to choose APN and go there for treatment, what kind of staff and programs are they looking at there?
Sure. I mean, we have all different types of master's levels, clinicians, therapists, psychotherapists. We've got, it starts with a really robust medical team. From there, psychiatrists, psych nurse practitioners, we've got a lot of tools in the tool belt. And everyone, I think one of the things that I saw as the opportunity within behavioral health when I got into the field was we've really got to look at people as individuals and treat them accordingly and come up with treatment plans that are tailored to them. We don't put people into quote unquote programs. We design programs around people. And I think that's one of the things that gets lost in a lot of treatment is we try and put, square pegs in round holes. And for us, it's about matching up a program to an individual's needs. I think one of the most overused terms in behavioral health is meet clients where they're at, right? But when you ask someone what that really means, right? What are you doing to meet clients where they're at? A lot of people get lost for words. We have a family that's arriving next week. So outside of the main lodge, which is about 80 beds, we've got a number of single family homes. We have a family that is coming to us. The husband and wife are seeking help themselves. Their kids are going to be on spring break. They are living in one of our homes. The husband and wife are going to receive a individualized kind of custom curated treatment plan to work on themselves individually and as a couple. The kids are, going to be skiing and having other activities. But we're trying to do, really a program that will support them. When you have an executive who can't necessarily commit to leaving his company for a month and with kids and family, we've got to build programs around people, not people around programs. And I think that's an important part of what we do, which is really individualizing care.
Yeah, and that's very interesting. And Noah, I got to tell you, I don't know that I've ever heard of that being done in a treatment program where you have a home where somebody can bring not only their spouse but their family, but yet be in treatment at the same time.
It's unique.
I've never seen that.
It's a unique platform. It's not a typical scenario, but you listen to people's barriers, right, to them coming into treatment, and you have to solve for those things. Otherwise, they stay in that category where they're not getting help, where they haven't entered, pre-contemplation or contemplation. It's we've got to cast a wider net and make it more inviting. I think within that misuse category too, for people that aren't ready to admit that they have active addictions, right? We've got to engage them in a way that they don't have to walk in the room and say, I'm an addict, right? Let's make it a softer entry point for them. They'll likely figure that out in the process, but I think we've got to be more inviting to people because look, personal development, that field is exploding. Everybody wants to take a seminar or workshop and improve themselves these days, right? And it's a great thing to see kind of health and wellness and personal development really taking off as we're here in 2021. But as I look at behavioral health, there's a very different experience. People walk in the door with their head down. They don't feel good about it. There's shame, there's regret, there's all these things when they should be excited because it's about changing their life for the better.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
And I think the stigma that comes along with it, the words we use, some of the definitions and terms, make it scary for people to enter. So I think that's one of the things about when you look at our campus and you go on the website at apnlodge.com, you'll see it used to be a resort. It's really inviting to people. The staff is phenomenal. We've truly recruited them from all around the world. And we're creating plans around people that otherwise wouldn't get into treatment. I think that's a really important aspect of what our team does.
Yeah, and I know that in my world, the law enforcement world, let's start with I don't have time to do it. Right, I can't leave, Mike. You don't understand. I can't go away for a month to go to treatment. All right, you got that. Then you got the stigma part. If you look at step 1 of AA, for example, which is a lot of work I do with, I'm powerless over alcohol. My life has become unmanageable. That idea of powerlessness and unmanageability, that's a tough pill to swallow for the people in that field. What do you mean I'm powerless? I'm not powerless over anything. And so that's intimidating. Then the stigma, so that powerlessness, so that you have an addiction. So what you're saying is you're weak. You don't have willpower, which we know that is not true. This is a very deadly disease that has a genetic predisposition, but that's a hard, I think most people in the public don't quite understand that. And so that keeps people from coming in. Hey, I can control this. I can control my drinking. I can control my drugging. All these different reasons why people won't get well. And I agree with you wholeheartedly that I think the language that's used has to be changed. The way that people come into treatment, this almost like you're going away into a hospital setting, and you're going into a hospital setting because there's something deeply wrong with you. All those things need to change because those that are in recovery successfully, long-term recovery like myself, I think most of us would admit, and you would probably admit, that was the greatest achievement you ever had in your life. Overcoming my drinking was single-handedly the most important thing and most rewarding thing I ever did in my life. It's a good thing that should be celebrated, not looked down upon. And I think people don't understand that.
Absolutely. It's a freeing feeling. It is something, outside of having my son, is probably the best achievement ever, is getting off of opioids, and which is, no easy task. And it's a lot of people, unfortunately, because I think the treatment community is rooted in its ways, right? It's not open. It's not inviting to people. It's a lot easier to get drugs or alcohol, inside your system than it is to get help, right?
Oh, yeah.
If it was as easy to enter treatment as it was to get high, we wouldn't have these same challenges. Unfortunately, it's just not set up that way. Mm-hmm. And I think that's, a huge barrier for people. But I think really everybody is different. And I think we have to remember that so many places and programs and people in the community want to identify as their disease. And there's really no other chronic disease out there that people are forced to identify with, right? Mm-hmm. You don't have diabetics. And this is, again, 12 Steps a great program for the right person. But there are a lot of people who it won't work for, and we've got to come up with other solutions for them. I think you got to have all the tools in the tool belt, right? And certainly, there are people who EMDR, they'll never respond to it. But you got to try and have different things available to see what will work. Continuing to try and push someone down a path that hasn't worked repeatedly for them can create kind of treatment fatigue, if you will.
Yeah.
A lot of people, I think the other challenge that we see within treatment is there's a continuum of care, right? There's various levels that start at a detox level and they go all the way down to individual therapy at outpatient, right? And people come in at different points in there. But a lot of times they're passed between providers, right? People don't offer the full continuum. So the care record is never kept intact. And what happens is the client has to continue to tell their story over and over. And that's where they get treatment fatigue, because they're kind of being passed along and they never make that progress past a certain point because they get frustrated with the process.
It's funny that you mentioned that, Noah, because I haven't thought about that for a very, very long time. But you just reminded me of something that I remember going through as I was trying to get sober. It was, in the early days when I would go to a therapist, or I would go to a treatment center, or I would go to detox. I remember just being like, oh my gosh, another nurse just walked in and she says, "So why are you here?" And I'm like, how many times do I have to tell this story? I just remember being so burned out. It was just, can you talk to the last person? They can tell you the story, all right? I've told this story 100 times. And you're right. It's just so fatiguing to go from place to place to place.
It does. And I think that's, and this is a symptom of all of healthcare too, right? It's not just behavioral health and substance abuse. I think we've got to get better at integrating care, right? Where the right hand, the left hand are coordinating and talking. A lot of clients come to us these days with like myself, what started as physical pain or perceived physical pain is where their addiction started, right? As the opioid epidemic has, besieged this country, we have seen people that have real pain and perceived pain, and those things have to be addressed concurrently. If someone is still having actual pain or believes they're having pain, we've got to get a team in there to address those things concurrent to what we know is an active addiction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, looking at these things in a silo in any form of healthcare is crazy. We have got to look at what people eat, what their fitness level is, what they're doing for spirituality, or, how they're keeping themselves balanced. Some people respond to meditation or breath work. Other people, you see them take off once we got them into skiing or hiking or back into outdoors. And I think it's just a matter of finding the right combination of tools that will support somebody long-term in their recovery.
Right. And diet, you mentioned diet and fitness. That I know for my own recovery program, the foods that you eat can have a real big effect on your psyche and your well-being. And, because we know that people that are addicted, whether it's alcohol or drugs, come in, oftentimes are very malnourished. And we also know that when people come in with an addiction, there is a very high chance that there's some other co-occurring disorder, meaning maybe there's some other mental health issue that's not being addressed. And oftentimes, when you talked about the silo effect, we're treating the addiction. So let's say you come in for alcoholism. That's why you came to the treatment center. Okay, well, we start treating the alcoholism, but what we didn't treat was this major disorder, depressive disorder you had, or yours maybe bipolar, and that was not touched. Problem is, now you leave treatment and you didn't touch this other area, so it just leads you back to where you were. So do you guys address that?
Yes, absolutely. The majority of our clients that come in are co-occurring. So we have clients that come to us just for mental health disorders without substance abuse. I'd say the majority of our clients that come to us, 60% have co-occurring disorders, and then there's 30 to 40% that are in that mental health disorder category, anxiety, depression. We have a really strong trauma program. So we deal with clients that come in and have severe trauma. A lot of substance abuse is actually tied back to childhood trauma. So we see clients that enter in on one side and end up on the other side in terms of their treatment programming. But, I think a lot of times within the industry, we talk about the symptom and the cause, right? A lot of times places treat the symptom, which is, all right, you're an alcoholic or you're a drug addict, without treating the cause, right? It's easy when Becky crashes the car, her family identifies that Becky was drunk. Oh, Becky has a drinking problem. Becky's going to treatment because she's an alcoholic, right? Well, you get Becky in and it's 3 weeks into treatment that we realize Becky was sexually abused for 10 years of her life, right? And now you're shifting the attention to that. So I think that a lot of times there's this symptom and the cause, and we have to do a better job of treating the cause. For us, we're a data-driven organization. We track our outcomes. We have our telehealth app that supports our clients long-term, as well as tracks their progress. So we stay connected to our clients for, years and years beyond their stay on campus, because we know that with chronic diseases, there is no 28-day cure, right? There's no 56-day cure. You can't go somewhere for a month or two and have 20 years of issues resolved. It just doesn't work that way. And I think we have to do a better job of educating people about how they can become healthy and how they can beat these things. But it is a long-term process. I think people have to be prepared for that because there is no other chronic disease out there that's cured within a month or two.
Yeah, and dealing with those issues, and I like that because we forget that portion of addiction, and that is that, okay, I have a drinking issue, and I've become physiologically addicted. My body's physically addicted. But what we don't do is we don't go back and look at, but what caused me to start drinking or drugging in the first place? The causes and conditions, right? And I've just seen so many treatment centers out there where that's completely ignored. It's not even addressed. It's, hey, we got the acute part, the drinking or the drugging over with, but we never went back to explore why you were doing this in the first place. And it's really just kind of setting you up to do it all over again.
Yeah. And I think when you don't probe and you don't have a program that identifies with trauma and trauma-informed care, where you're really looking for those answers ourselves, right? Because a lot of folks don't know what's deep inside that really is causing these things. You have to pull it out of them. You have to be there to support them and give them a safe environment to have those conversations, many of those conversations that they've never had with anybody. And those are hard conversations, but it's an important part of the process of personal development and growing. I really believe that, that's where we can get in and do good work, is finding what the real cause is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I totally agree. Well, it's really exciting. And how have you all been affected by COVID, safety measures and things along? I'm sure that's kind of, some people may use that as an obstacle.
So we opened the facility in March of last year. So not the greatest time to open a new facility, but we've been managing through it. Our team's unbelievable. I can't say enough about them. What we've done is we have an assessment wing where our clients, they're inbound, and our clients come from all over the country. They go into the assessment wing. They receive programming, immediately in terms of individual therapy. They get on group therapy through our telehealth app, but they receive care from our medical team. They're in the assessment wing for 5 days, so they're getting room service. They're really kind of quarantined for that 5-day period where we test them and really to keep the environment safe. And that's worked well for us. We worked with the Eagle County Department of Health on coming up with these protocols. We did have a COVID outbreak back, in November, and we had to shut the facility down for 3 weeks from new admissions. And we've tightened up the protocols now, and it's working really well. But certainly, something we have to manage through to keep the environment safe.
Yeah. Well, it's good. Well, this is really exciting stuff. And once again, as we wrap up, let our listeners know how they can get hold of you.
Yeah, they can get a hold of us at apnlodge.com. And we're open 24/7, 365. We have programs for trauma, substance abuse, and mental health, as well as telehealth programs for those that are not willing to travel to Colorado right now or get on a plane. We can begin treatment, remote, working with our therapists, either in a group or individually, as well as medication management. So we're trying to meet clients where they're at and families where they're at and just do good work.
And you did say that you have a follow-on program, so you stay in touch with the clients once they leave APN as well.
We do. We transition them down into, depending on what level of care they started at, intensive outpatient and then outpatient. And we're about to be launching a really robust series of outpatient groups. One of the things that we've seen that keeps people really on the straight and narrow is, continued treatment, but what can people commit to on a daily or weekly basis. We've been designing a really robust platform of outpatient groups, which are varying topics, right? Men's group, women's group, father's group, mother's group, as well as family support groups. And then you've got the specialty programs within that of trauma or stress, or you have an alcoholics group or cocaine users group. So we're coming up with a variety of programming that people can pop into 1-hour groups kind of every day. And those will be rolling out here in just about June.
Yeah. Well, that's exciting. That's exciting news. And yeah, I really appreciate you taking the time to come and talk to us today on the show.
Really nice talking with you as well, and keep up the good work. And I look forward to talking again.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I'll wrap it up by just saying, we always like to say, I don't represent any group. I don't represent anyone other than myself. We're talking about giving you information so you can help yourself the way that we've been helped along the way in the recovery journey. And so if I said anything today that doesn't apply to you, or Noah said anything that doesn't apply to you, then just discard it. But try to take some of the information that we've given you today to use it to help yourself and to help others as well, because that's what we do in recovery. We help ourselves along the way, and we work to help impart that knowledge to others that are suffering as well. So with that, please visit our Facebook page, which is Recovery is Possible, and our website, which is VanMeterWellnessSolutions.com. Let me know how I'm doing. Let me know if there's any topic that you're interested in hearing, and I'd love to hear from you. Take care, and we will see you next time.